Hi everyone and welcome back to Your Biz, Your Rules. I'm here today with another very special guest, and this one is one that I'm very excited about because I can actually say that I've met this lady in real life, because not only is she amazing online, but she actually works and lives just down the road from me, which is great because it means we can meet for coffee every now and again. So without further ado, Mary, hello, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
I'm glad to have you.
So I own the Simplifiers, which is a funny little company that has quite a story behind it. I launched the company back in 2003 in Austin, Texas, strictly as an events management company, producing large-scale events for corporate clients, weddings of all shapes and sizes, and all of that. And we really specialized in what we call non-traditional events. What's interesting is how the company has evolved over time is not what I expected whatsoever. And that part, I think, is really kind of fun to see the evolution of it all.
I've loved hearing it because I know you've told me your story when we met up, but you went from obviously working in Texas to moving way across the world to Nottingham, of all places, and you brought your business with you.
Yeah, most people ask me, so Mary, why Nottingham? Why are you in the UK? And usually I just answer the question. I say, well, mainly I'm here for the weather. I want someplace that's mildly cold, chilling to the bone, and, sunshine only 20 days of the year. That's the place I want to live. No, I have family. My husband's British, and we have family in the area. And years and years and years ago, both my husband and I own separate businesses. So we're both entrepreneurs. And years ago, we said, what would it look like if we lived a portion of our life overseas? And, when we put that plan into place, and, sometimes when you say something out loud, it's like, oh no, I've said it, now I've got to go do it. It, becomes its own life. And so we have children, they're still fairly young, and it seemed like the right time to uproot and move everything over here for a season. Now, when I say that, it sounds very easy. Now, if we were working for other people, that would just simply be us putting our notice in and, call it a day, done, right? But when it is you that owns the business, and not only my business, but then he owns his own, it makes things a little bit more complicated, which kind of goes against everything that your company's named after. Going through that process of uprooting a business and building a team once again in the UK, because obviously I can't bring a team of 10 people with me on the airplane in my luggage as much as I wish I could have. You learn a lot about building a super team around you and what to look for along the way.
Yeah, and that's something that I wanted to talk about today, because obviously I know you had like a full proper team with office space and all of that jazz when you were over in the US, and then since you've come over here you've started to work more with freelancers and like virtual support and that sort of thing. So I just sort of wanted to ask you, what's the difference when you're building the two sorts of teams?
Oh, it's fascinating. So I literally think that 5 years ago, definitely not 10 years ago, you can build a virtual team now in 2018 better, faster, easier, and more affordably than you could ever in the past. So technology had to catch up with the ability of a mindset as well of people to move towards this kind of mentality. So my strategy has always been from day one of starting the Simplifiers is look for talented people who may be green, but they're trainable, they're teachable, open to new ideas and learning and all of that. That's what I look for when I'm hiring somebody that's going to work in person in my team, in our office, and have done that for years. So mentoring interns and apprentices all the way up the ranks, teaching them step by step, seeing who catches on fastest, and then eventually hiring them onto our staff and kind of molding and grooming people into a role. When you're hiring for a virtual team, it's a very different approach. What I have found now is that hiring for a virtual team, you're looking for somebody who has that micro niche expert status and experience in something particular, whether that's graphic design or creating Facebook ads or video editing or copywriting or whatever it might be. So you're not necessarily looking for somebody who's you can groom and you can teach. You're looking for somebody who has that specific skill that you can outsource and delegate that specific area of your business and trust it to that person to help run that part of the machine, if you will. So it's a very different approach. And I like to think that the reason why now is the time, and I honestly believe, Dare, like you are on the precipice of something, like this is going to be the hot topic of 2018. I think building virtual teams, people, the mainstream are starting to get it now. And I think it's something that people are going to be talking about a lot this year. And the reason I think that is this: Uber. A few years ago, people didn't even know about something like Uber or Lyft or any of those kinds of gig economy kind of jobs. And when I say the gig economy, I mean, that was just sort of like a fancy word that people threw around a few years ago and said, hey, you need to keep an eye on this. But now it's actually coming to fruition. People with college educations, university degrees, lots of experience in the business are jumping off the corporate career track, the 40-hour-a-week job, and going to get gigs, working 5-hour-a-week jobs for different clients that add up to, in essence, a 40-hour-a-week job or a 40-hour-a-week kind of salary. So I think because the mindset has shifted in people, of like, wait a second, I don't have to clock in and clock out and work for one person and, sell my soul to the corporate giant. I can actually have the flexibility of managing a small set of clients, doing little pockets of work for different companies all over the world. That's what the change that needed to happen in order for small business owners like myself to actually, really truly look at virtual teams as something as a viable solution.
It's funny that you say that. You've just reminded me of a TED Talk that I was watching the other night, which was one that Simon Sinek did. Mm-hmm. He was talking about how to lead the millennial generation, because these are a whole new group of people who they don't fit into that corporate box of the way it's always been done. They're looking for more, like they're looking for, like in sarcastic quote marks, impact.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with impact. I mean, I think you want people working for you that really embrace your why. One of it sounds silly, especially if you're a solopreneur, somebody who is, me, myself, and I'm the only part of the business and all that. But when you start thinking as a solopreneur or a small business owner in bigger terms and really like clarifying what your business's vision statement is, what your business's mission statement is, and your core values, and you can be able to really clearly enunciate those things to your staff, to your virtual team, then they go, oh yeah, that's what the simplifier stands for. Oh, I see what they're working towards. I want to get on board with that. And when you've got buy-in like that, I think that's where you can find really great, valuable teammates who are going to go for the long haul with you and not just blip in and blip out.
I'm definitely guilty of that myself, of being stuck in that sort of solopreneur mindset. For the longest time, I was like, no, I have to be able to do everything. I have to do this on my own. And then I just sort of stepped back over the holidays and just thought, why is that exactly? Why do I need to be able to do it by myself?
It's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap.
It is a trap.
And so I started looking to start building a team myself, and I sort of had a couple of blips to start with, because I had a couple of people who just, like, you could tell they were very temporary, like they didn't really care. And the outlook was like, oh, this is like giving me a bit of pocket money, blah, blah, blah. And I wanted someone who, like, obviously nobody's going to care about my business as much as I do, but I want them to care a bit.
Mm-hmm. So here's my strategy on building a virtual team. If I had to, kind of say, what are steps 1 through 10 of doing this right? And, for me, it's all about learning along the way. So each time I interview people or put something out there, I learn something and refine my process as I go on. So by no means is this the end all be all, but this is a good starting point. step one, like I said, is really getting clear on what your company stands for. Vision statement means where you see the company headed in the next 5 years, and it's ambitious and exciting, and it kind of gives you the tingles in your tummy. Like, that's what you want your vision statement to be. Mission statement is who you are, who you serve, and why you exist. So getting it something drilled down to literally a sentence or two of what your company stands for makes a huge difference. And then last but not least, your core values are anywhere from 4 to 6 things that you stand for as a company. One of our core values is never miss a moment to wow them in the little details. We're very thoughtful in the details of all the work that we do. You can imagine how that could translate as an event planner, but even now in my mentoring and business coaching, that's a huge part of what we do. So once you've clarified those things, wrote them down on paper and reviewed them and said, yes, this is it. This is what I believe. Step 2, in my opinion, is, and again, it may seem totally weird and awkward, especially if you're a solopreneur, but it's so valuable, is literally carving out some time and put together an org chart. Like an old-fashioned hierarchical org chart of your business. And then you go, well, Mary, there's only me. So am I going to be in all of those boxes? And the answer is yes, in the temporary, but you are the person at the very top of the hierarchy, right? And then you break out and you go, okay, what are the products and services my business offers? And so say you offer 3 primary products out in the world. And then you can break it out by that and say, okay, what does it take to execute this product? Not only in manufacturing, but marketing and sales and execution and delivery and all the things that go into that particular product. And you do the same for all 3 of your main areas. Then you break it out and say, okay, what if I was a mega huge corporation, what would be the different departments in this business? So you've got marketing, you've got sales, you've got finance, operations, you've got training and development, all of these bits and pieces, right? And as much as I'd like to say, oh yes, I'm really good at all of those things, the reality is I'm probably only good at a handful of the things, but there are definitely pockets in the org chart where that is not my strong suit. For example, webmaster. I am not a webmaster, nor should I ever be. Whenever I'm posed with an issue on WordPress, my brain just shuts down. I'm a smart girl and I'm very tech savvy, but for whatever reason, it just shuts down. So you look at your org chart and you go, okay, where are the pockets where I need to fill? The gaps I need to fill of strengths that I'm lacking, or work that, have you ever heard the hell yeah versus hell no? Like if you've ever tasked out, like all the tasks that are on your plate, what are hell yeahs? Like, oh, I love doing those. Those are energizing and exciting tasks. And the ones that are, heck no, I hate doing those. Those drain me. And I hate doing that task. You want to be able to say, okay, of all the heck no tasks, let's find a person to do that. And that's step 2. It's just mapping it out on an org chart.
You're just giving me flashbacks to my corporate days when I used to be in charge of putting together the office org charts.
Yes. And you could go back to like the Office TV show and giggle about these things. But there really is some truth to having a bit of structure. And also for me, I'm a visual person, so I love seeing it visually shown of like, oh, here are where the stopgaps are in my current business setting. And, oh, I need to hire this person in the next 30 days. I need to hire this person in 60 days and this person in 90 days and, segment it out. Then you become so much more clear about what your needs are as a business to run efficiently.
Okay, so where do you suggest we start looking for these people? Because I'm so incredibly wary of using word of mouth, just because I feel like it puts a lot of pressure on the friend that's recommending person.
Yeah, and this is just a strategy that seems to work for me. And it's hit or miss 100%. Not every person in the world, not every millennial, I dare say, can be a great virtual assistant. This person really needs to be an excellent project manager, but they also need to be an excellent communicator. That's the bottom line. And, you know, at the end of the day, can they do the work or not? Obviously, that's sort of like a given. But the project management style and organization of the person, and then communication is huge on finding a great candidate. So for me, before you ever go to like try to find them in the world, step 3 in the middle is determining what you need. And so after you've created the org chart and you see where the gaps are in your business and in your team, in essence, and you figure out where's the biggest pain point, which part of this org chart hurts the most because I don't have somebody handling this bit for me, then the next step is to write out a creative brief. And literally like 1 or 2 pages max. 1 page is even more ideal. And you're mapping out on this creative brief what the tasks are that you need this person to take on. And at first you may like, okay, let me give you one of my superhero secrets. The superhero secret is literally your phone, a 7-minute timer. So you set a 7-minute timer, you close down all of your tabs on your computer and all of the notifications that could possibly distract you. And you just focus and do the thing. So for 7 minutes, you're going to like brain dump out what are all the tasks that you want to get off of your plate that could fit into this role. And so you just bullet point out, boom, 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 see what comes up. And then you start to see if there's any repetition or parallels, or can you bundle that into one particular person? Like, oh, I didn't realize, actually, I need a graphic designer. Oh, I didn't realize I actually need just a copywriter because I can do the graphic design, whatever it might be. And then you write that creative brief, bullet point out as well, and say, you know, here is the proposed start date for this person. You know, I imagine this is a 2-hour a week, 5-hour a week task. I need you to do. And, you know, you may also say in there like, oh, well, this is a 3-month project because it's specifically focused on, say, a launch you've got coming up or a very time-sensitive project that you're working on. But writing out that creative brief is the very first step, in my opinion, before you go off and try to find the magic unicorn person that can do the work. Because it's now clarifying and crystallizing in your brain what you're looking for. I think where too many people stumble, and I certainly did in the very beginning, is like, I just want a magic person that does it all, right? Can she do sales? Can she do graphic design? Can she do my bookkeeping? And can she go run and do my laundry as well? Like, you just want all these things into one person. And the reality is, it's better to break it out and find multiple people that are, you know, focused on their micro niche, zone of genius, if you will, and splay the work that way instead of trying to find one magical unicorn that can do it all. So yeah, step 3, write the creative brief.
I like that. And I think when I've been looking for my VA, one of the things that I didn't think it was that important to me to start with, but as I spoke to people, I realized that it's like the one thing that is make or break in those interviews is if somebody describes what they do as what they actually want to be doing. That is really appealing to me. But if somebody says, oh yeah, I can do this and I can do that, but when I grow up I want to be an artist, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be this, I want to be that.
Exactly.
I don't want to invest my time and energy and money in someone who's temporary.
100%. And that's the hardest part, right? You are investing time and energy and all of that. So you want to have a good fit. You don't want somebody who's going to blip off in a month or a week or just totally ghost on you altogether. Yeah, I think that's huge. And, you know, so most VAs that I have interviewed so far will say to you, oh, I do it all. I do everything. What do you need? I can do all that. But what I actually ask is, if you had to rank your top 3 skills, the things that you are just like a ninja at, and also you really, really love doing that work, like, tell me that. That's what I'm most interested in. Because yeah, sure, you could do it all. I mean, we can all do it all. I could do WordPress webmastering, but I want to like poke my eyes out as well, right? That's what you want. You want to get clear on what their zone of genius is. So moving on to your latter question, step 4, where to find them. My feeling on this is there's 2 ways to go. you can find something like vasumo.com. Go down that route where you just pay an agency, if you will, a monthly fee, and then they allocate, anywhere from 25 to 50 hours to you per month for a VA. Now, I think with those, sometimes those larger agencies, that might be a good thing because they've got theoretically a wide array of different VAs that they can position you with. And, if you get a dud, then you can immediately call the agency and they can reassign you to a new person or, help sort of, figure out things along the way. Or you can go the other route of literally trying to find a VA on your own. And I've done a little bit of both, and I think there's pros and cons to both. But let me talk about the side of going out and trying to find a VA on your own. What I found has worked is literally getting into private Facebook groups of, other organizations or online marketers or things like that, and just start asking. So for example, we're launching a podcast in March this year and quite excited about that. And in that, we are hiring a couple of positions, an editor and a producer. So I became a member of the She Podcasts private Facebook group and literally just asking the question inside that there's all female podcasters of, who are great editors, who have you worked with that you absolutely love. And I think there is a lot that goes along the way of getting that actual real testimonial from a real life person saying, oh, she is incredible. She's super timely. She does this. I couldn't do this podcast without him. And then, you've got a vetted list first, right? They're not just complete strangers on the internet and you're just picking it because they have a nice picture. You actually have somebody saying nice things about them. That gets you step one into the interview process. So when you start interviewing them, you're one step ahead of the game. And that's where I think the pro is of doing it that way.
I'm really, really glad that you said that because that's exactly what I did to find my VA.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing it right.
Yes.
I'm in a business mastermind and I knew that I needed some kind of support. So I just asked the question, do any of you guys know any decent VAs that are not crazy people? They know what they're doing. They'll be able to deal with my craziness.
Yeah.
And a couple of people mentioned the same name. So I just got in touch with her and I've hired her now. And when she's lovely. She makes me feel way calmer about everything.
And that's exactly what you want, right? And I think that's huge. And so when you get that list of people that say, oh, you have to talk to so-and-so, then what I personally do is I set up 15-minute phone calls with them. Because I feel in an interview, if I was interviewing somebody in person, I know pretty much in the first 5 minutes if they're going to be a match for me or not. So for me, I don't need to talk to you for an hour on the phone. I don't need to, set up some long drawn out thing. 15-minute call is usually enough to kind of get a good vibe, ask a few questions. Are they legit? And then, from there decide, okay, do I want to take this one step further and set up a follow-up call? Follow-up call usually is about 30 minutes long. And here's a side note. This is something that I think is really interesting. I heard this feedback from actual experienced VAs. When you're hiring a VA, it's not like hiring an employee. So when you hire an employee, you ask for their cover letter and their CV, and you want, they have to send all the stuff. You don't ask for those things when you're hiring a VA. You're looking at their website. You're looking at their portfolio. You're looking at anything that they samples of what they've done. So if it's a graphic designer, ask for some samples, they'll shoot them over to you via email. But you're not asking for their CV. That's really, really important. Some VAs actually get offended if you ask for their CV. So just a pro tip there. But yeah, you're looking at their portfolio, their communication styles. That's huge. And that's one of the very first questions I ask is when you work with a new client, what systems do you use for communication? And, whether that's Slack or Trello or just back and forth emails or check-in calls every Monday morning, how do you communicate with your clients? And I think that's what you're looking for, the clues of, have they ever done this before? Are you their first client? And, do they have experience in handling this?
I think another thing is the tools. You want to know what tools they use and what they have experience with, because Like I personally don't want someone to just say, yeah, I've done that when they actually haven't, and we'll have to quickly Google how to do things. I'd rather someone tells me they don't know how to use a thing, because then I can either train them or whatever.
100%. Yeah. So that's, again, very distinct difference from, how I used to hire, where I was training somebody and grooming them, like spending loads and loads of time grooming them up and up and up and up. Whereas a VA, if I'm hiring a graphic designer VA, they should come to the table with experience in Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign and all of that. I'm not teaching them any of that. What I am training them on is our style guide, our brand, our brand's voice and essence, and helping them to choose better images or graphics that fit and are aligned with our brand imaging. So theoretically, this VA is going to be at a much higher hourly rate than if I was to hire somebody from within or groom them from entry level onwards up. However, theoretically, if you get the right person, this person's going to take it. The VA is going to do the work so much faster than an entry level person that I'm trying to groom and has never done it before. That's the hypothesis that you're working towards. But then that's where it's really important to know what their communication styles are, and also be very clear, like how quick do you get work back to us? If we give you something on a Wednesday, will I hear back from you on Thursday or Friday, or is it not till next Monday? So just understanding the timeliness of and expectations up front is really important.
Okay, so here's the question. We all have experience of having really bad managers. So, what tips do you have for being a brilliant manager when you start building this virtual team?
Huge. At first and foremost, Captain Obvious of what I'm about to say, be nice. Be nice. Be a nice human being. Yes, we all have deadlines. Yes, we want to get stuff done by yesterday. All of that. Yes, we're a business. This isn't a hobby. This is a business that makes money. But being nice is such a huge testament to the way I manage and lead my teams. And I think that that's really important. And in addition to that, going the extra step of writing out the creative brief, putting the systems in place for project management, making sure everybody's clear on expectations sets them up for success as well. And a virtual assistant, in essence, a good one that's experienced. The reason why they're a virtual assistant is because they don't want to be locked down to a desk 9 to 5, clocking in, clocking out, and doing mindless work. So a good one, I dare say an excellent one, is one that is hyper-focused and can sit down, crank out work in batches and get things done efficiently. So I think as a manager, if you know the workflow that's coming ahead, trying to be as proactive as possible. So for example, a graphic designer VA, you would want to at least have an editorial calendar in mind of what I'm going to say on Instagram, let's say, for the next 3 weeks. You might not know every bit of it, but you've got the framework at least. And so by being able to pass that on to your VA, then she or he can batch create a bunch of the graphics all together. So they're working so much more efficiently. They're not like, oh my gosh, I need an image in the next hour. I haven't put anything on Instagram in 2 weeks. Go, 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 go. You're not going to get the best work from them as well. So being proactive, thinking ahead of the game, and putting those systems into place, like an editorial calendar or, a project plan on Trello or something like that. It's going to be incredibly helpful for them, and they'll greatly appreciate it from you as a manager.
Right, and you don't want to be constantly hustling to think of work to give them.
100%. Yeah. And also, it's even taking the one step further and shifting how you think of yourself. Because in essence, you're not necessarily their manager. An employee has a manager, a VA has a client. So you're the client, and to be a good client, not a client that they're, hammering on about over a pint going, oh my God, she's a nightmare to work with. To be a great client is somebody who can think 5 steps ahead, give them the tools they need, give them the pieces that help them do their work efficiently and be able to, in essence, batch it. And when I say batch, I mean do lots and lots and lots in little bits of time. That makes them work more efficiently.
Another big one for me, I think, is honesty. And that's something that I really appreciate from clients I have, as well as something that I try to do with people that work for me, is you've got to be honest. Yes, be nice about it, but if something is not the way you want it, you have to actually express that. You can't just sort of grit your teeth and nod your head and say, yes, that's fine, if it's not fine.
That's huge. And, I think that's a British thing though, right? Because you guys, you don't want to offend people, do you? Yeah, no, you have to be honest. And if it's not quite right, tell them it's not about you. It's about the work. It's like, this is what's not right about this. This doesn't feel like the brand, or doesn't feel like what we are hoping for. It can't, so it's not like a personal attack against the VA. It's like, okay, this is how we can make the work better. And I think that's huge. Absolutely.
I mean, I've had a client in the past so I used to create her blog content for her. And we're working together for about 6 months before she told me that she wanted the blog post formatting in a different way. And she'd just been sort of like grumbling and reformatting it herself every single week. And I just thought, like, if you'd have just told me after that first one, then you wouldn't have had to deal with any of that. You wouldn't have had to get stroppy. You wouldn't have had to hate me secretly. You wouldn't have had to just...
And what a waste of energy. I mean, for both parties as well. Like, think about, trying to simplify your life. Like, if you are dealing with an undercurrent of drama or passive aggressiveness, or that's not a happy relationship, and it's a waste of time and energy for both parties. So yes, in essence, say these things. And I think that's also a top tip, is that it's okay to have like a check-in every now and again with your VA or your employees, and just say, how's it going? How, given what the original creative brief was, is it living up to what we originally said this role would be? Do you need more hours? Do you need less hours? And just being honest with them. And realizing, like, with a VA, you don't always have a contract. It may be just sort of a rolling, ongoing thing. So if it's just not working out for one or either party, then it's okay to break ties. But having those kind of once monthly or once every other month kind of check-ins, I think is huge. And no emotions in it, just simply checking in, and is the work working?
And I think with having any kind of virtual support, the whole point of having it is that it helps simplify what you do. It helps simplify your life. So if it's not doing that, then you need to sort of look at things and think, well, what can I tweak here?
100%. Yes. Agreed. Yeah.
And speaking of simplifying, tell us about your Facebook group.
Yeah, so we have launched a group called the Super Insiders, which we're quite excited about, in that for us, we run challenges throughout the year. We do business coaching within the events industry. So people that want to get a better grasp on the operation side of running their business, sales, marketing, finance, all of that stuff. So what we found is, after the challenges are done and after our masterminds are done throughout the year, it's nice to have a bigger group of creative entrepreneurs that want to get together and just share information. And I think that there is something to that as well. Being female, we love to build a tribe and a community around us. So while the Super Insiders is not just for girls, it is open for all kinds. What we found is that most are women, female creative entrepreneurs that want to get inside information. So stuff just like what we were talking about today, both in the events industry and outside the events industry as well. But, being able to have that tribe of people that you can go and ask silly questions to, I think is really important. So we've launched the Super Insiders as our Facebook group, and we'll, I guess, put the link in your show notes so people can have more information if they'd like to join. It's completely free.
Absolutely. I think I did an episode early on, I think it was episode 2 or 3 or 4, something like that, about finding Facebook groups that fuel you, because there are so many out there that just drain all of your energy and are just all about promoting things or sort of getting a bit snarky and all of the negative stuff. So it's really nice to find a new space where you can just connect with reasonable creative business owners and have some support.
Oh, it's so great. And I mean, I think especially again in the gig economy, a lot of us are working in silos. We're very isolated, whether working at a home or in a co-working space. But it's just nice to be able to have, a few. You don't need to be a part of 80 billion Facebook groups, but just find a few that you can go and dip in and dip out of to get recommendations on virtual assistants, or, hey, I'm redesigning my logo. Which one looks best, A, B, C, or D? And just get real honest feedback from other people in your space. I think that that's a huge resource. And again, technology has come a long way to allow us to be able to do that now, which is great.
Yeah, and the name of this game is simplifying everything.
That is the truth, and it's funny, when I named the company The Simplifiers 14 some odd years ago, the silly irony is that sometimes your life becomes very complex. So I am always striving to simplify things in all areas of my life. And yes, I think the new evolution is 100% virtual teams.
And this is the kind of topic that you'll be addressing on the Simplifiers podcast, right?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this. So little known fact about me is that my very, very first career right out the gate out of university was in radio. So I worked in all areas of radio, whether it was on air as a presenter or a DJ, to marketing and promotions and producing events and all sorts of stuff. So it's really exciting for me to be able to bring that part of my life and career into what I'm doing now and marry the two together. So the Simplifiers podcast is launching on March 8th, 2018, which coincides with International Women's Day. And our concept is pretty simple. We're going to interview smart, clever, amazing, talented people from all over the world who are thought leaders in topics in business and in life, and break it down and simplify it. Like, that's it. So cash flow forecasting, simplified. Goal setting, simplified. Being a vegan, simplified. All of the things that you want to ask the dumb questions for. What we hope is to be a fun interview style podcast that you can tune in and learn stuff and simplify things.
I mean, it sounds great. It sounds like something I would listen to.
Thank you. Well, we're really excited about it kind of coming together and seeing it have its life of its own. So yeah, being part of the Super Insiders also means that you're part of our sounding committee and helping us shape this thing as it grows.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I'll pop a link to both the Super Insiders and the Simplifiers podcast in the show notes so everybody can come over and join and listen and all that jazz.
Thank you so much. And I really, really appreciate being on your podcast today.
It's been fun. Question I want to ask before you go, something I'm asking everybody: what is your biggest guilty pleasure and how do you weave it into your work?
Oh, great question. I wouldn't necessarily say it's guilty because I just love it so much. So I love to paint and I love to draw. And if a day goes by where I'm not doodling or drawing or painting or doing some sort of art, it makes me very sad. So I find myself mind mapping things when I'm at work, and we have giant whiteboards, so many Sharpies. And it's just nice to be able to visually get things out of my head and onto paper. But then I also, one of my secret delights is every week I go to a little art club in my village that is literally people in their 80s or so, and I just paint with them for a couple hours. And I absolutely love to do it every single week. It fills my soul.
I love that. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. Not saying that my art is good. I'm just saying that I love to do it.
But that's mine too. My guilty pleasure is absolutely going and getting messy and doing ridiculous collage, mixed media fun. And recently I've been going through a proper dry spell where I just haven't been making the time to do that. And last night was the first time in, it must have been 2 or 3 weeks. And oh my God, I feel so much more sane. It was 10 minutes, like throwing some paint around on a piece of paper, and I just feel like the normal me again.
I love it. I love it. The power of art. It's true.
It is. Oh my God, you shouldn't have told me that, because now I just want to stay on and just keep talking about all that. Maybe that's a topic for another day.
Yes.
Okay, so to finish off, tell us once again where we can find you online.
Yeah, best place to find me is actually Instagram. I mean, we're on all the social media if you just find at The Simplifiers, but Instagram.com/The Simplifiers is where we're at. And my team has so graciously agreed to let me take over the Insta Stories part of it. So every now and again, you can see an Insta Stories back and see behind the scenes of what it's like to be the CEO of The Simplifiers. So check it out.
Oh, fun. I'll pop a link to that in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mary. It's been great. And I feel like I've learned a lot from listening to you talk, so I'm sure everybody else will have too.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Your Biz, Your Rules. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I enjoyed creating it. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about weaving personality into your business, please feel free to hop over to my website, darapaddy.com. That's where you'll find all kinds of resources and all kinds of inspiration for just being a little bit more you online, because it is possible.